Another indirect way to experience our true nature is through creativity. And this can be anything. Anything can be creative. And it's really this indirect way of experiencing ourselves. And like the other indirect ways that I've shared, it's very easy to, again, confuse that whatever you're creating is making you happy. But really it's the creativity itself that actually you're losing your sense of self in the creative process. That's why people say things like lose yourself in the music. Just lose yourself in the art. You find that there's an absence of resistance. That's why a lot of this creativity, it's nothing but self-expression. That you're the most creative when you're just expressing yourself. And when you're expressing yourself, there's no suppressing yourself. So we actually get in touch with our feelings. We feel those feelings fully. This is where you can really feel the emotions of a singer or a dancer or even a painter or any other form of art. You really see how it's really expressing. It makes you feel something. You can feel it within yourself. Because it's really coming from the formless and it's giving form to the formless. And in this creative process, you're actually experiencing your formless nature. This creative process is good as like an outlet for these emotions to allow you to feel this emotion. Maybe there's some sadness and you're expressing the sadness in or through the song. You can play the piano or guitar and it's that you feel that emotion. Because it's an expression of that emotion. That emotion is finding its expression. And in that expression, you're feeling it fully. So you see like a lot of artists, they close their eyes, it's like as if they're going to their depths and really expressing that someone else would look at that and go, I can't, how do they sing like that? They're like digging deep. And in that moment, or at that time, in the performance, there's just no suppression. There's no resistance. It's just this pure flow. When there's no resistance, there's just that flow. There's just that flow of energy. And that energy takes form through the dance, through the instrument, through the sound, through the vocals, through the paint. That formless is then taking form. And this is why a lot of people actually, they feel that like painting and coloring, it's very therapeutic. It's allowing us to connect with ourselves. some of these activities, just doodling. There's a playfulness. You're dropping purpose. There's no purpose of this drawing. It's just sit down, just kind of coloring. There's no pressure. You find when there's no pressure or purpose, it's just play. And that's what creativity really is. It's just play. It's when you're not really focused on some sort of outcome. That's when you're actually the most creative. When you're the most creative, you're the most playful. There's no seriousness to it. It's just all play. There's just this flow of creativity. This creativity is freedom. That we are really expressing ourselves without any sort of filter. And that's why it feels so raw. That's why when you can listen to someone play the piano or they're singing, it's this raw energy. It just feels so raw. Because it's unfiltered. And you're feeling it within yourself. That's why it can move you. That's why people say things like, I was really moved by your song. I was really moved by that dance, that performance. It can bring you to tears. Make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Give you the butterflies in your stomach. There's something that's, it's felt. One is really touching something at their core. That they're expressing that formless. Nature in that song, or in that dance, or in the art. And this is where we're the most inspired. Inspired is really in spirit. That at that time we're essentially, we are our true nature. It's just all spirit. It's just spirit that's just flowing, creating. That's why people say things like, I just need to get out of my own way. And they say things like, I don't know, in the studio, it's like I was taken over, like something was just using this body as like a vessel. This body, that it became an instrument. It just happened. That when it's happening, it's that identification activity is just come to a rest. There's just no resistance. There's just all flow. It's that flow. It's that full expression. The full expression is freedom. That creativity is the freedom to express yourself. That raw energy is the unfiltered energy. Without that resistance, it's not going through. It's not being governed. It's not being diluted. It's not being restricted. That's what we can feel. You can feel it when an artist performs like that. You can feel it in the painting. You're feeling the essence of that painting. You're feeling that emotion. in the painting. How? It's just paint on a canvas. How does it capture those emotions? It's all about where it came from. That source of creativity is what you are. That by being in touch with the source of what you are, that's where that power is felt. It's that creative power. It's that power that can move someone. How can it move someone? How does it have the power to move someone? It's because it came from the source. It's an expression of the source. And it's just that creative activity, whatever it may be. Sewing, cooking, gardening, anything. That's what you can feel the difference. That's where you can feel, perhaps like in your mom's cooking or your grandma's cooking, oh, why does this taste so much better than the restaurant? Why does this taste so much better than when I'm making it? Or the store-bought stuff? It could be the same ingredients. Why is it different? Why does it? It's because of where it's being cooked from, you could say. It's what it's made of. That's why we say things like it's made with love. My grandma's cookies are the best because they're made with love. But that saying it is actually true. Saying it that way, it's true. That it's like you're putting your love. It sounds so cliche when we say it, but there's some truth in it. You put your heart into it. You can really tell when someone puts their heart into some sort of creation like that. Cooking or a garden or their kids. You're right. It's all love. But when we say things like put your heart into it, it's this totality that you're totally involved. And when you're totally involved in any activity, you lose that sense of self. Because that sense of self is always a resistance. It always feels like it's a reserve. If you're building a business, it's always like, I don't really want to put all of my energy into this. I don't want to fully commit to it. So I'll be doing this, but I'll have a plan B. See, it's this reserve. It's this fear that really limits. And that's what really limits creativity, is the fear. But creativity comes from love. It's the flow of love. You love something, that this love that you're feeling inside yourself, you want to create something to express this love. So this love is formless that you're experiencing. And then it's giving it form in whatever it is. Some instrument, cooking, gardening, making a video, playing a song, dancing, whatever it is. And that's that love that's really moving you. That's the movement. That whole activity. I often say this, is creativity is a love affair. You can't help it. That's a self-expression. That's really, it's a gift to yourself as well as the world, because just that whole creative expression, that creative freedom, you can't help but feel happy. You can't help but feel love. You can't help but feel peace. You can't help but feel freedom. You're feeling all of that in the creative process. So it feels good when you're creating. And it's indirect because, again, that's just coming to our true nature. What you're experiencing is your true nature. You're experiencing your formless nature. That's where you lose yourself in the creative process, who you think you are, all of your problems, your worries, your fears, your future, all of that just goes out the window. It just totally disappears. That's why when you're really in this creative process, you're not looking at the past. If you look at the past, you're just going to be a copy. You'll copy someone else. But really, when you're creative, it's always fresh because you're in touch with the source of life. It's fresh. It's this moment. This moment, there's no past, there's no future. It's when we're experiencing that strong sense of self. When we say things like, I just got to get out of my head. Got to be more creative. I just got to get out of my own way. I'm having some sort of mental block. I'm having a creative block. Then you're always going to be referencing something that you maybe have done before or something that someone else has done. And you're always going to be trying to copy that. It's going to feel so limited and restricted. And like I said, creativity is freedom. So you can't limit creativity. When you try and limit it like that, it just doesn't feel creative. It's like something's missing. We usually just say, well, you just copied that other person. It wasn't truly creative. Or we might not be referencing the past, but now we're creating this future. We're now so focused on the outcome. Put so much pressure that then we can't fully be present in the moment. But when you're truly creative, there is no past, there is no future. There's just this. This is where the creative process lives. It's this spontaneous flow that's so playful, so free. It's fresh. It's really the unknown. You don't even know what it's going to be. You don't know what it's going to look like. That's why when you're really creative like that, it's like you're letting go of everything that you learned. If you're painting or if you're dancing, just, forget all of it. Forget what it should look like. You're not referencing what has been done before or what should look like. There's no shoulds, there's no shouldn'ts. It's just total freedom. And that only happens here. Now, this present moment. This moment is freedom. And when that's happening, for lack of better words, that's when you are experiencing yourself. Like I said, is this creative process, it's an indirect way. You think you're painting, you think you're dancing, you think you're singing, but indirectly you are experiencing yourself. The dance becomes a vehicle to just take you back to your essence. The music that you're creating is just a vehicle to take you back to your true nature. So like I said, is this creative process, this creative expression, it's a gift to yourself because you're experiencing yourself. What you are is the gift. You're experiencing the happiness, the love, the peace, the freedom of your true nature. This fullness. It's only out of fullness that you create. It's this love. It's only out of this love that you are birthing something new. So it's a gift to yourself and it's a gift to the world, because actually that song or that dance or the cooking, whatever the creation is it actually has the power to take someone else to their, not that they're separate true natures, but it has the power to take one to our true nature. One can watch that dance and feel so moved, so touched that they feel like they've touched the core of their being, because they have. There's a resonance. It will feel like as if that painting has transmitted something to them, but it's this deep resonance. Because it's where that painting has come from, you could say. That the artist was in touch with our true nature, and then it's expressing it in that form. It's giving form to the formless. Then that's how you feel so moved by just a piece of art. You look at it, but how does it feel so alive? You're just looking at paint on the canvas, but how does it feel so alive? That aliveness has been expressed. That artist has felt that aliveness. When you're creative, you're feeling alive. You're touching the source of life. You're giving life to whatever you're creating. And one can sense that. They might not know it. Most definitely they won't be knowing it. But they'll be experiencing it, just unknowingly, that it's our true nature that they're experiencing. I don't know why, but I just feel so happy watching that dance. You could see this on a lot of these shows. These like America's Got Talent, or these American Idol, these type of shows where there's this creative expression. You see it. It can move people into tears, or just this huge smile on someone's face watching it. It's because it's an expression of our true nature. So this is an indirect way that to experience our true nature, that this creativity, this creative process is very spiritual, where you don't even need to say that you're spiritual or have any sort of talk like that. It's just, you just feel like like I said, feels just like a love affair. Like you just love to create. You love to create because you are experiencing your true nature. Then it's realizing that your true nature doesn't depend on you creating anything. It doesn't depend on the singing or the dancing or the gardening or the cooking. So this is just a way to come back to yourself. But whatever you're creating, it doesn't really matter what you're creating. It's just that whatever you're creating was is like a method, a way, a pathway back to yourself. And what you may find is, if you are a very creative person, that this is your jam. This is your spiritual practice. But you might not even know that it's a spiritual practice. You'll never even see it as a practice. It's not necessary to see it as a practice. It's just another way that I'm sharing that if you find that you are creative, or you have, I mean, I shouldn't even say it like that. We're all creative. We're all creative. But if you find that you have some sort of passion to create something, or passion to cook, you love gardening, you love knitting, something like that, it's an invitation to lean into that more. It's a permission to really express yourself and see what happens. See what happens when you don't let the fear prevent you from doing that more. See what happens when you really lose yourself in that creativity. See what happens when you see that as the way, that you are following that inspiration. That you have the inspiration to create, because that's really following your heart. That there's something in you that wants to be expressed. So that's a way to connect with yourself through creativity. Hopefully this helps. See you in the next one.